Hello, Joe here, aka Juicy's Muse. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my weird little world. So I've had quite a few requests to get more of an in-depth look in this little beauty. So this is my exclusive mixing journal. So in this I keep all my mixes, all colour palette ideas I come up with, things that inspire me, all that sort of colour theory related goodness. So this is a Strathmore mixed media journal in the soft cover in the 8 by 5.5 size. Love the soft covers, but I don't love how marked they get quite easily and quite quickly. So I'm just about to start a new one of these, so I'll probably eventually put the two of them in some sort of leather folio type setup just to protect them a bit more. So let's get a little look inside. So when Danielle Donaldson came out with this range of stamps, the colour theory girl in me went a little bit nuts and I had to have them all. So how I use them is I stamp out a heap sort of en masse and store them in these packets so they have them ready to go whenever I'm adding to this journal, or I've mixed a mix for an illustration and I'll pop it on there so I've got something to refer back to at a later time. So what I also do is, we all know watercolour paper is expensive and precious, so we want to use every little bit. So I cut down sort of 2 by 2 inch squares and long rectangles and these really long rectangles out of the smaller scraps of paper and store that for use in this book as well. So things like doing colour palette swatches, so sort of a range of colours that I might refer back to and use in as a group. So that's sort of how I use all those spare scraps up as well. So other things that I use in this book, I love to add little tabs just to pages that are more a whole colour related, and little bits of fabric that's sort of related to a certain colour palette, just inspires me. I hand dye a lot of fabric as well, so I add different things like that that refer to a special kind of palette. So I've got a lot of these type of swatch type things in there as well, or a colour palette combo, colour combos, that sort of thing. Mixing research, different more colour palette combos. I also keep, as you know, I'll put a link to this in the description box as well, but you might know that I mixed all my Prima palettes up into sort of colourways. So I've got all my browns together, all my purples together, that sort of thing. So all the original, how they came from the manufacturer swatches, I've also stuck in this book so I can refer back to that if I need to as well. More colour palette combos. Then this was sort of taking a limited palette, so 6 different colours, and making a colour palette using that, different mixes and a whole bunch of things that I could create with just that one palette. This is another thing that I love to do, is create little patterned works with just the one palette as well. It's just inspiring to look back through and look at what I've done in the past and how it's worked, that sort of thing. It's another one. This one was, if you go to Pinterest and look up colour palette, they have these cute little illustrations with like a colour palette underneath. So I use that as inspiration, this picture of these cactuses, to create this colour palette. So this was sort of the bouncing board or a starting point for this illustration. So using those greens and pinks that I've mixed in this palette here, and that's how I've sort of moved on to use that to create this. other things that I do is I've done a whole page of green. I love green, so this is sort of my page of wall of greens. So anytime I'm doing a mix that is a bit more unique and I haven't used before, I'll pop it on this page as well. This one I love, all the muted colours. I refer back to this one quite a bit. I've also got these little clear envelopes. You can get them from any scrapbooking store, different sort of sticky ones that you can pop extra bits in for the page, that sort of thing. And I pop those in quite a bit as well to add things that need to go on the same page. So I would definitely recommend this if you are into watercolour. It's definitely a great research tool to refer back to in your own practice. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you for watching.